Welcome to DEF CON 3. I'm KT McFarland. Wednesday's Islamist terror attack on Charlie Hebdo magazine, killing 12 people, well, it's put security officials across Europe and here in the United States on alert. What can American officials learn from the Paris shooting? Here with reaction is former FBI officer Bill Daly. Thanks, Bill, for joining us. What did we learn from what happened?
Well, KT, it's not only what we learned from yesterday, but what have we been learning all along? Because this is really kind of one more in a series of incidents that have been occurring around the world that affected civilians and private organizations. However, I think yesterday the signal is that no one is immune, no matter how distant they are, no matter what business they're in, from radicals deciding to carry out attacks against them because they don't like what they're saying, or they don't like what they're portraying people to be. And so I think what we need to learn here is that everyone needs to understand they need to take responsibility for their own personal security or security around their own premises, but also for governments to understand that just because you're removed physically from where you think the theater of action is or the target of some comment is, you're not. Is that you're very close to it, because those people who want to carry out these acts could be in your very midst, could be planning on something already, or be ready to be activated at a moment's notice.
Talk to me about the difference between the random person, the guy who goes on a jihadi website and then goes out and sort of slams his car into the first person he sees, or the people who, like the ones who carried out the Paris attack, where they seem to really have training and know what they were doing and specifically going for that target and for several individuals. They called out by name. Yeah.
I mean, there certainly is a difference when you look at kind of their trade craft, the modality of which they act, and I can cover that in a second. But I think at the end of the day, KT, is that they're actually accomplishing the same things that the radicals, that the people who are behind Inspire magazine and all these other publications and reach out to people around the world are doing. So they're actually accomplishing their goal, which is strike out against whoever you want, who you think needs to be struck out against, and by whatever means. In the past, they've called for people using anything at their hands, swords or knives or bombs or guns or anything they have to carry out. However, to your point is that the people yesterday seem to be, although we hate to call them professionals, they seem to have a certain level of tradecraft, a certain level of skills that they either have honed on their own through some remote training, or perhaps through some attendance at some other type of formal training by people who know what they're doing. They certainly knew their targets, as you said. They knew where to go. They knew who they were asking for. They knew what they were doing. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, they really did accomplish their goal, which was to go in there and kill as many people as they could and get away. And right now, at least 2 of the 3 are still on the loose.
There's a certain debate in the United States and in Europe, but in the United States particularly, about, well, we're not going to call them Islamic extremists, we're not going to call them Muslim terror, we're not going to use those words. We're going to call it workplace violence, or the president said senseless violence. Does it matter if we call it, put a name to it that's ascribed to a religion, or does it not matter at all?
Well, I think so. I think there's a reason why you need to call it what it is, because then you know how to go after it. Is that when you start painting everything with the same picture, the same kind of gray picture, you're saying, well, these are just things that happen, like somebody's having their pocket picked, or there's a random killing here or there. No, there's a certain theme, and the theme is running through people who are carrying out radical beliefs and who are doing things with that modality and mindset. Now, sometimes we dismiss those people, like we had a killing here, or attempted killing of police officers in Queens, New York, by somebody wielding a hatchet.
Right.
And that person had been apparently either visiting websites, radical websites, and been posting information out there. We can't control who's affected by these call-outs by the radicals and who's affected by them. But sometimes we dismiss that because these people obviously have some,
they're just crazy.
Some organic or chemical imbalance that's causing them to do that. However, there are many of these other incidents, like yesterday, that we start painting it with, I think, of kind of a shade of gray. We lose focus on how we need to go after it. We need focus on how we get after the insipid stages of this. And I think by painting it other than what it is that we're losing that focus.
Interesting. Okay, well, thank you so much. Bill, this is a developing story, so stay with FoxNews.com. I'm KT McFarland. Thanks for watching DEF CON 3, and thank you, Bill Daly.
Thank you, KT.